A question I was asked just last night was, why exactly am I so bullish on these cryptocurrencies? And to me, it's a very simple answer. It's because it makes so much sense. But to a lot of people, I've noticed it really doesn't. They just kind of buy because somebody else has taught them to or showed them how. And I just want you guys to reflect for a second and realize the amount of confidence I've got in my investments is just, for a lot of people, out of this world. There's never a single day that I wake up and think, what if I'm wrong? All I'm thinking of is, hey, maybe they'll go down for some time. Maybe there's again some bearish momentum before everything flips around and goes absolutely crazy. And that gives me the most amazing peace of mind. But it also makes it so I never have to second guess my choices. We've talked about this Bitcoin breakout for a long time, right? The longer run, so to speak, where again, between, let's just call it April and November of 2021, just like how this time again, between, let's just say March or November of 2025, we're going to be seeing our peak for Bitcoin, and then slightly after that, we'll see the peak for altcoins, most likely. Now, before we move on, if you want to trade crypto, you can check out the link down below to 𝗏𝗏𝗀 or to 𝗬𝗏𝗃. They're both crypto exchanges I'm using right now to trade on. Both don't have KYC, but they just have some different bonuses. Here, you've got some, the more you trade, the more you can spin to win. And this one has another deposit campaign. The more you deposit, the more you trade, the more you get as bonuses. Upwards of, I think, $100,000 though. So just check it out. Links are down below. I just want you guys to realize that I'm so convinced in that all of my trades reflect that exact same thing. And so for me, it's never a question of will it do well, it's more a question of when exactly. And since I've got that, the most important differentiating factor between all my coins is really mostly based on, hey, what makes this one more bullish than another one right now today, right? And when we, for example, take a look at a coin like XRP, what makes me so excited right now? Well, there's a lot of really interesting prospects for the short term. So Trump coming in is quite huge because he's trying to boost US companies / crypto. So from that perspective, if he's trying to boost the whole US crypto scene and he's trying to make sure the Chinese don't win and the rest of the world don't win, well, then it makes sense for every single crypto company based in the US to kind of do good purely based off of that. And if you think about it, then every single Chinese coin, depending on what China or Russia, whatever does, is in a bit of a negative situation. But more importantly, the US ones are up. I don't know if the rest is going to be down. US coins at least are up. That's one thing. Second of all is a new SEC. This just to name some examples. New SEC, Gary Gensler out, who was literally the most important pressure on the XRP price with the lawsuit. So the lawsuit out, Ripple now being able to IPO, new activities coming on the XRP ledger like RLUSD, Ripple's new stablecoin. And again, I could say some positive prospects for a lot of coins. If we're talking about AI coins, I could again state the same thing. Hey, Trump is coming along. AI has seen a bigger boom than ever before. AI will most likely go kind of exponential from here. And again, then specifically for US AI related companies, it could be a big boost. So it's not as if there's no overlap between some, but that's also why I tend to use this as a base right here, you know, the path to an altcoin season, because usually Bitcoin and Bitcoin related ecosystem coins do really, really well. Then Ethereum and related coins do really, really well, which is the phase we're currently in. And so right now, even though I might say some really bullish things on AI and even on coins like XRP, if we're just following probability, they usually will find their best points a little bit later into the cycle. And so that's why if the prices right now are not going too insanely crazy, it is still in my head that I'm thinking, I've had this every single crypto cycle. Every single time I think the same thing of just give it some patience. Just give it some time. As long as you wait, it'll come to fruition because it always follows the same pattern. There's some slight deviances. For example, sometimes a specific large coin might go on a crazy run before it's supposed to. It could. But this is generally speaking the pattern. And if you just consider this to work, because again, I personally believe in it very much so, I think it's quite hard to not win. That doesn't mean you'll get the optimal gains, but this is just an almost, this is not financial advice, right? But a very certain way of crazy gains in the crypto market because the flow also just makes this much sense. Now, as it currently stands, we're seeing more and more announcement of Ethereum things. BlackRock's Ethereum ETF just surpassed $3 billion in inflows as experts predict Ethereum could surge to $15,000. And even Eric Balchunas, the senior ETF analyst at Bloomberg, said, quote, "We are really just at the tip of the iceberg with Bitcoin and especially Ethereum. Just a tiny fraction of our clients own IBIT and ETH. So that's what we're focused on versus launching new altcoin ETFs, end quote, by Jay Jacobs of the BlackRock at ETFs in depth. Point being here, we right now are so freaking bullish on alts. Why? Because generally speaking, in a bull run, in an altcoin season, which is bound to come very, very soon, we're already in an alt season, it feels like, because a lot of numbers are showing it, but the real alt season, but generally speaking, even Bitcoin and Ethereum haven't gone for peak yet. And I think this season, it will most likely be a quote-unquote peak when all these funds start allocating relatively quite high percentages of their portfolio towards these ETFs or towards these cryptos, or when they start going for smaller and smaller cryptos, or when they start going all for their own cryptocurrencies. I think that's a pretty good top signal. But right now we're still, even though I would say we've entered into phase 2 sorta, we might still actually be in phase 1, or at least in this phase overlap, where we're slowly going towards Ethereum. Usually, it only goes away from Bitcoin to ETH when Bitcoin has basically already peaked. And then everything starts cascading fast. But we do believe that this cycle is going to go till at least, I'm going to say March for Bitcoin's all-time high as a base case. And that base case would basically be in the scenario that Bitcoin back in time actually would have topped out earlier, like for example in this April case, and then you would have sold back there, being the best scenario you could have gone for, right? So that would basically be if we follow this type of top about, let's just quickly call it 340 days after the halving, which is significantly different from the 520 days before, and the, let's just quickly see here, 530 days of the actual top of the top. If we're just really, really conservative and we say about, 330 days, something like that, we're going into somewhere in March, but that is like the minimum that I think we'll see for a Bitcoin top. And then after that, after that is when alts go crazy. So if you're right now thinking, oh, why are my alts going to the freaking moon today, tomorrow? What was going on? Patience, my dear, patience. Anyway, that's the main reason I always max long. So that was the conclusion of all this. The main reason I always have these trades open, the main reason I always show you guys that I'm freaking bullish is because it's been multiple years of me not being able to say that. On the I would say longer term, I've always been able to say it because we've drawn this, how do you call this? Graph, I guess. We've drawn this years back. This is not right now that I made this. No, this goes back for years and it's still very freaking accurate. Even, I would say somewhere early in 2023 when this whole line was not even being followed at all, by the way, I might add. It was just a random line that I drew in that I kind of expected it to follow along with. But back then, even though I was able to tell you Bitcoin is going to go so much higher, it was more a question of how long will it take, because we're basically all in bear market territory, right? This whole situation right here, it was all officially kind of bear market territory, even though officially the bull market started back here in November 2022, right? It was all down, it was all miserable for most of it throughout, but right now that we're past the all-time high, we started going on a run again. Historically speaking, this is usually when things just go really, really fast, even back in this cycle too, right? The moment we broke the all-time high is when things started going absolutely crazy. Back then, it started going absolutely crazy right there. Even now, again, just following probability, this is where things are about to pop off, even though we might see another crash. Oh, 20% down. Oh, our altcoins are falling. Guys, do you think this is the first rodeo? I think this is the first. If we're looking back at the daily chart for the altcoin market cap, right? You can just scroll through here and realize, if you go back to maybe like 2021 somewhere, you can see that there have been some awful days throughout the bull market. Back here, you can see 822 billion to where? To roughly 516 billion, 40% down for the entire altcoin market cap in what? How long? Let's quickly check this out. This would have been about 1 week and you're down 40% on altcoins on average, right? But then again, when you start looking back at the chart, you're like, whoa, but April was such a freaking, it was a bullish momentum month, it looks like, because we actually kept continuing higher throughout April. It was only in May that things went bad, right? And that's again, when you zoom in, you notice all the inefficiencies, you notice all the crazy dumps. When you look at it from a broader perspective, you really don't. A lot of people will never realize again that in the pursuit of the all-time high, Bitcoin here went down about 25% or so in a week. A lot of people will forget that because they just think about the fact that it went up, let's just say 130% in 3 months, or that it went up, let's just quickly see, 1,600% or so in about a year from that bottom. From the real bottom, it went up 20x. Yeah, just absolute madness, right? Anyway, the biggest bull is still ahead of us. Super cycle is coming. I hope you're ready to see your alts go to crazy levels you could have never imagined, because every single season, I am more surprised with the gains that we're seeing. Every single time I think, it really can't get as crazy as last time, can it? And then it just completely goes above all my expectations, because you're not bullish enough. Whatever targets you've got in mind, either they're ridiculous or they're not bullish enough. It's really like that. If you're thinking, oh, you're being really realistic, yeah, consider again that most of the time, some new event is going to occur, something new is going to pop up that's going to completely change the outlook. For example, can you imagine a freaking U.S. president that says he's going to make the U.S. the crypto center? A couple years ago, I would have never guessed that it would happen so soon. I would have told you, maybe in 20 years or something, but nowhere soon. Or that the biggest asset managers in the world are going so bullish on it now, and they're saying, oh, I really haven't seen anything yet. It's about to get crazy, and that you should all allocate some percentage of your portfolio to it. It's all moving so fast. Because again, both those, Trump and Larry Fink, both said they were against Bitcoin some time ago. A lot of people who are right now looking against it will all turn positive. Just give it some time. And put those targets up higher. You'll thank me later. Yeah, that's about it. Make sure you put the notification bell on so you never miss out on an episode. And of course, just press the like button if you enjoyed it. I really appreciate it.